And welcome back. Joining us for our third conversation is Renee Wentz. She's taking off her hat of counselor and putting on her hat of give us some tips and tricks on how to stay safe. And welcome, Renee.
Thank you.
Welcome to Open Ears. Thank you for being here.
Sure.
Morning. So tell us, how did you get involved in the practice of self-defense?
Oh, this was many years ago. I figured out outside with Aaron and I were talking before, and I figured it's been 21 years that I've been practicing. I started taking Taekwondo, and I was in a women's school, and my sensei was also a self-defense teacher. And so as part of our belt progression to get to the black belt, I had to demonstrate self-defense, and I also assisted her in teaching some of her classes. And then when I came to Belize, I was approached by a gentleman that had a gym in Corozal, and he wanted me to teach Taekwondo, and I said, wait a minute, I just got my black belt. Why would the women want to learn Taekwondo? It's very involved. It takes a lot of time and commitment. And he said, for self-defense. And I said, wait, I could teach self-defense. Yeah. A lot of people think that martial arts and self-defense are the same thing. Right. And I have taught from a method called empowerment self-defense, which means that we teach more than just the physical aspects. So we also recognize a lot of the social issues involving violence against women in particular, and we talk a lot about that rather than just, he grabs you here, here's how you hit him. This is where you kick a person, this is how you do it. So there's a lot of buildup that does not go on in a martial art. Yeah. And the other thing with empowerment self-defense is that what you are teaching, basically it's dirty fighting, which is not a martial art. And it is also very simple. Mm-hmm. So most of the work that I do now are workshops. And literally you can come in for 3 hours and you can leave and you can have some skills, even the physical skills, you can take away and use them right away. And I've actually had a couple of people who have left a class in the afternoon, and at night they actually had to use the physical aspects, and they were able to use it successfully.
We look at it from, a lot of times we look at it from the very sexist perspective that you have a female who's being attacked. But the truth is that, would you agree that what self-defense is a way of bringing the balance back? So for example, it might be a stronger attacker against a weaker person being attacked, or somebody who has a knife as compared to somebody who's unarmed. So rather than looking at it from the standpoint of a male attacking a female, isn't it more healthy, and in terms of me being engaged, to think about it as me being at a disadvantage, and how this method allows me to shift that balance back to a place where I can be safe?
I would say, yeah. If you want to go that philosophical or into that. But the statistics will bear out that the majority of attacks are male against female. Yeah. And so generally when I am teaching, I am usually using the example as a male attacker, with a female doing defense. Now, are men sometimes attacked in the same ways that women are? Sure. More often when I have had the opportunity to teach men, I will teach usually defense against armed attacks, because a lot of times men get into fights, to be honest. And it's another thing about empowerment self-defense is that it's most of the time women teaching women, because women understand the kinds of situations we're in. I think men often don't understand the way that women have to structure their lives in order to be safe, that men never think about. Men never think, what if I wear this and I walk on the street? What if I walk at night by myself? What if all the different kinds of things that we have to, what if I make eye contact with this person? What's going to be the next thing? I don't think men ever think about that. So when women teach women, we actually teach women how to fight as women. I had the opportunity to go to a self-defense camp, an empowerment self-defense camp this summer. And it was the first ever global empowerment self-defense camp. Only about 30 women were invited, and it was on a scholarship basis from around the world. Wow. And I was selected as one of them. Wow. And it was very, very interesting. The people who put it on was a group called El Halev, and that's the shirt I'm wearing this morning. And the person who really organized it, Sikadamang, she said this, and I thought it was so amazing, and it's so succinct, that when men teach women self-defense, they teach women to fight men how men fight men. When women teach women self-defense, we teach women to fight men how women can better fight men. And so yes, your analogy that it's somebody who may be inherently more vulnerable against somebody who has more physical strength would be right. But most often,
There's something unique about it.
yeah.
And with self-defense, whether you want to admit it or not, there's a lot of gender considerations that come into play. The fact that there are more male attackers than women, and that women are more susceptible to being attacked on the street because we are perceived as the weaker sex, even though that's definitely not true. Maybe in physical strength, but yeah. But as it relates to teaching self-defense, there are a lot of misconceptions that are tied to it, like the fact that maybe self-defense is only for victims of assault, or self-defense is only for poor defenseless women who have to walk the street at night, students. So to clear up a little bit of those misconceptions and tell us about some of the benefits of self-defense, even if you haven't been a victim of assault.
Thank you for bringing that up. I think particularly the empowerment self-defense that comes from that model is that when people leave, one of the things that is hard to judge is that when they leave a session, they should come out of there feeling more confident and carry themselves in that manner on the street and be more observant. Exactly. So notice things that are kind of odd or don't feel right and pay attention to what's going on. And in that way, lots of times they almost eliminate themselves from ever being considered as a victim. True. Because attackers are not going to just randomly attack. That's only if somebody is, in full-blown psychosis, mentally ill, or if somebody is high on some kind of drug or alcohol. Right. Otherwise, attackers don't want to work hard, right? So they're going to look at you, they're going to interview, watch you on the street, calculated. See, do you look like a good victim? Are you not paying attention? Yeah. Do you have headphones in? Are you talking on your phone? Do you have a broken arm? Are you walking with your head down? Do you look meek? Yeah. If you are not behaving in that way, a lot of times they'll just pass you by because there's lots and lots of victims out there, really good ones. And so that is probably one of the biggest ones. I mean, I've had self-defense clubs at some of the schools that I have worked at, and I've seen the women in a classroom setting. I will ask, can somebody help me move this table? And they'll be the first to jump up. Yeah. And most is, it's always going to be the boys to jump up. And these are shy. They were shy in the beginning. They didn't want to speak. I've seen them go, and then they can get in front of a group and they can give a presentation without getting nervous. So there is a lot of additional benefits. Just being assertive and not, again, in a place where it has to be self-defense, but in our relationships. Learning how to say, you know what, you're not treating me correctly. I don't like when you do that. Yeah. And having the confidence and the idea that I am worth having respect. And so there's a lot of those extras that come out of teaching of the self-defense.
You touched on something that resonates with me, which is that a lot of what I gather from what you're saying is that a lot of what self-defense is preventative. If you can avoid certain situations, and you give us a couple of the danger areas, not paying attention and the like. One of the concerns is that you do counseling as well. Yes. And I know that lots of attacks are surprise. Yes. And so the first challenge is that energy boost where you're confused or disoriented. How do you address the mental aspect before you get into whatever physical response you have? How do you first calm your mind? We just did a yoga session, but how do you calm yourself to say, this is what I need to do? Yeah. You could be trained perfectly and completely freeze up.
Yes, and that's another thing that I talk about at the beginning of my sessions, as I talk about the biological response that we have as human beings to a threat, which is the fight, flight, and we've also added freeze. I mean, it's been added by scientists in recent times. And so I talk about how that all happens emotionally. There's a different emotional level. So you have the passive people who are going to basically freeze sometimes, or they're not going to speak up. Anything can happen to that person. Yeah. Absolutely danger. You have the aggressive people who are also in a danger zone, believe it or not, who every little thing they act very aggressively. You see more and more of these people nowadays, people fighting over just stupid things
Yeah.
and getting killed for really ridiculous stuff. And so those people are also at a danger. And those two responses come out of fear. I don't know what I can do, and I'm not confident, so either I'm going to freeze or I'm going to just blow up, and I'm going to get myself into situations maybe I don't need to be in. And in the center is where you have the assertiveness. And so self-defense, I always tell people, when you know what you can do, when you have a sense of your physical power, then you can sort of react more calmly. Even a lot of the calmness is not even a calmness inside, it's a calmness outside. So it's that faking it, that appearance that, I'm cool, and being able at least to think and plan out what you want to do. And I always think, say take 10 seconds, but it's not a real 1001 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in that time I'm scanning, I'm looking, where's my exit? Who do I need to get through to get there? Is there anything in my environment that I can pick up and put in my hand and use as a weapon? I call those found weapons or weapons of opportunity. All of those kinds of things are what you would be doing in that 10 seconds, assessing the situation. And again, surprise attacks, if you're observant, surprise attacks should be pretty few. I would say there'd be more like somebody is hiding in your house. I've heard of places where somebody breaks in and they hide in your house and wait for you to come home. And that's happened here in Belize, And so those would be real surprise attacks. You're sleeping and somebody breaks into your house. But when you're walking around the street, we should be paying enough attention that we'd have lesser surprise attacks.
And I'm slightly, which is awful, I'm slightly chuckling to myself because my mom, sorry mom, but she's a very strong woman, very opinionated, she's able to articulate, but when it comes to scary situations, she freezes. And I'm thinking to myself, how do you teach the opposite of that? Because I remember one time a man came in our house and she was outside and she froze, and she said that she did not know what to do. Well, obviously she hasn't taken your self-defense class.
That's what I would say, number one.
But in most situations, like even my dad had a near death and she just froze. How do you change that mindset from I'm defenseless, I'm powerless, to I can actually do something?
So it's learning the things that you can do and practicing them.
Okay.
And in my classes, I always have people do, depending on the size, they are able to do hit on pads with their full force. So they get to see what they actually have as far as physical strength. Yeah. I also teach a lot about vulnerable targets. It's one of the first things. Before you learn how to hit, you have to learn where. Yeah. And so we talk about the different areas of the body that are the better areas to hit. Do you want me to run through those?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So the temple is my favorite. I call this my favorite upstairs. It's my go-to. If you all know, it's next to your eyes. It's the little hole you can find it in the side there. It's like a window to your brain. So while the rest of your skull, you knock the rest of your skull, it's hard. But if you hit somebody here, it can cause them to actually be knocked out. Yeah. And in fact, I was laughing because the first time I was on here and demonstrating self-defense, Marlene actually hit me upside the head. Oh, gosh. Because we didn't have any time to practice, and she didn't really know what she was doing, and so she did. She hit me upside the head, and you could hear it on that noise on the camera, and it did knock me a little silly. And she wasn't doing it hard. Okay, so if you do it hard, you can knock somebody unconscious.
Very strong, though, so.
Yeah,
I think she's not here today, so you're safe.
Well, we've had our times since then. She actually took one of my classes, and. But if you hit somebody at a medium blow, you can knock them unconscious. If you hit them very hard, you can actually kill somebody because it causes, just like if you were in a car accident, it causes a brain injury. Okay, so that, like I said, that's my favorite upstairs. The eyes, of course, very vulnerable. Anything you can get in the eye, whether it's some kind of aerosol spray, your finger, a spoon, a pen, anything, keys, anything. The nose, very vulnerable. Most of us have been hit in the nose. It hurts like crazy. Sometimes it bleeds. People's hands will naturally glow up here, which opens up all the other areas below. Okay. I don't do too much of it here. If you can get in here, it's not going to really hurt. No. Under here, yes. Under the chin, that pain radiates all the way up. When we're looking at self-defense, we want to cause injury as much as possible. Yeah. So if the person had their tongue out and you hit under here, I ignore all of this. It's really not good in the front. Kidneys are great in the back. If you somehow get turned around, they're almost on the outside of the body. The groin is an excellent target, not necessarily an excellent first target, because men are very quick to put that knee up or the hands down to protect. They don't expect you to do anything, but once you start to move, it's quick. So I usually recommend, unless it's wide open, you go from someone else, and this is his secondary. This is maybe the follow-up kill shot, right? Okay. As they come down the body, all the upper legs and the backside, not good. Too much meat. Knees and everything on the way down here, good. Okay. If you hit the knee, take out the knee. Lots of this stuff in the lower body prevents somebody to be able to chase you, because when you are doing self-defense, it's not. I'm not staying there to fight. They're not going 3 rounds. It's going to be 1-2 hits, and my objective is to get out, get away from there. So if I can take a knee out, usually if you're going to take a knee, you want to go to the side. Is a little bit easier to knock that kneecap off. Okay. If you get the shin good enough, if you miss the knee because it's small, this is crazy hurts, hard to follow, and my favorite downstairs is the top of the foot. Right on the instep. Smashing that, there's 26 bones in the foot, they're small, you break a couple of bones in the foot and they can't chase you. So those are the important things. Once people know that, and then they feel their strength and power, then they go home and they practice. I say the workshop is just to teach you, but you have to practice. You have to do these things over and over. The more you do them, the more when your brain kicks in that fight, flight, or freeze, and all those hormones are going through there, they give you a lot of extra strength, physical abilities. But yeah, they can kind of mess with your brain. Your brain doesn't really have to engage so much, because your body sort of will go with it. The few times I've had to use physical self-defense, it wasn't until afterwards I had to like rewind the tape in my head and go, what did I just do? Because my body went ahead and reacted. And the other thing is you can do mental practice. I'd like to do that. Again, research has shown a lot of mental practice is almost as good as physical. So sometimes if I'm riding the bus and I'm idle, I will just say, okay, I'm going to imagine a scenario. What would I do? I'll see somebody walking down the street and I'll say, okay, what if this guy grabbed me right now? What would I do to him? And I imagine it in my mind. So again, mental rehearsal reminds you of all your opportunities that you have there.
Definitely.
In terms of how do I choose and decide when to engage someone as opposed to just running? How do I decide? How do I respond?
If you can run. We have this shirt also has it on here, you probably can't see, but this is the it's called the 5 fingers, but they call it the 5 principles here of empowerment self-defense. And the first one is think, second yell, make a lot of noise. Third is run, meaning if you can run. Don't stay and engage in a fight ever if you don't need to, because you can get damaged. I mean, there's no guarantee that you're going to come out of a fight alive.
You're not Luke. Okay?
You fight when it's necessary. And then, of course, you tell at the end to make sure that people know what happened, and make sure that you make reports, even if you think nothing is going to come of it. All those things need to happen.
And another issue is, you were speaking about it earlier, getting things in the eyes, pepper spray. How much do you encourage? Because if I have pepper spray, let's say I have to go for it, it makes me lose the 10 seconds that you told me about. While I'm there, I'm being approached and I'm fiddling for it, so I don't engage. Do you encourage it?
I don't. I actually don't encourage pepper spray at all, because pepper spray, as you said, normally people do not have it at the ready. Okay. When you're nervous, you can only do very simplified things. Okay? That's another part of the fight or flight. And those things, they're on your belt. You got to take it out of the little holder. You have to make sure the thing is pointed in the right direction. I'm ready.
Safety.
Yeah, you have to take safety off. You have to. Usually, the people that sell them say that you need to practice with them, and they say you practice at least 30 times before you'd ever have to use it. Now, that's expensive. Those things are expensive. And plus, look, we're in Belize. But Belize, we're outside. There's breeze. Even if you do everything correctly, and it'll come right back to me. Or normally, again, if you're there, you're not a threat to me at this point. You can't really reach me from there. So if I had the opportunity, I would run. If I shoot you from back there from pepper spray, is that going to legally fly? That I had the right to do that because you're so far. So if you're truly in my space and truly a threat to me, and I spray you again, even if it's still going to affect me. If you are high on something, it may not affect you, and it will damage me. And the hands and the feet are always ready.
Yeah.
Okay? Usually when I'm thinking about weapons, a lot of times it's like at home, a spray, like if you're in your house and it's a home invasion and the spray is available. But on the street, no, I wouldn't use any kind of spray.
Okay.
And I usually don't recommend gadgets at all.
Yeah. Well, before our segment, and we definitely want you to give us some tips, do a demonstration
Okay,
of how
great.
we could definitely use on the street as women. And of course, we want to get into where you offer your classes and when and times like that. So I think we have one of our volunteers from the studio. Daryl is going to come and be a part of the demonstration. And Renee, take
How
it
do we
away.
want to set it up? Just like this?
Okay, so you just explain what you're doing.
So I want to take, I want to show some different levels of aggression. And, you know, this is, again, something I learned this summer doing because I've always learned once there's an aggression, I've always gone straight to the full physical.
Yeah.
But we do have situations where we want to have relationships. Most of the inappropriate contact that people have with us are people we know.
Yeah.
Strangers kinds of approaches are pretty rare.
Yeah.
And so we want to be prepared for people we know, because a lot of times when it's someone we know, we have a little bit harder time turning them down or getting people to stop. And so in this situation, we're just going to, this is a person I want to continue to have a relationship. It's a friend. Maybe we're at a party, he's had too much to drink. I've told him, you know what, don't stand so close to me, and I don't really want you to touch me.
Yeah.
And so he's just going to come towards me, and I'm going to show you some things you can do. I already told you not to touch me, so wash the face, wash the face, wash the face, wash the face. You understand me now? Okay, I'm serious. Okay? So wash the face.
So washing the face. What does that do? Why wash the face?
Because it's your eyes, and so you see, I came into him, and he couldn't do anything but back up.
Yeah.
It was very uncomfortable, but it wasn't painful, right?
Okay.
Okay, so this is another one. He's going to come at me. Same thing. I want you to come and try to grab my arm. I'm going to give it back, give it back. Okay. Again, this is another I one. So I'm just blowing some air, and I give him his hand back at the same time. So let's show that one again. Give it back, give it back. Okay, so I'm giving your hand back to you. Again, this is just slapping. This is not anything I've really had done before.
Do you have to say the give it back part?
You don't have to, but it's a reminder to your brain.
Okay.
So nobody really cares what you're saying during that time. So a lot of this, they wash the face. When I learned it, that's the way I learned it, because it helps me remember. I'm kind of washing the face all the way back. I'm going to give his hand back. Keep giving it back. Keep my hands down there and make sure. Okay? So if we look at another more aggressive, now this time I want you to come and I want you to actually grab my arm.
Okay.
Okay? So come toward me. And in this case, we're just going to do a simple circle. And so let's just do it a little bit slower. So when he grabs it, I want to go over the hand. Okay? I always call it a circle over.
And you're attacking the thumb, which is the
You're not
weakest.
actually touching anything. You're only going over. But yes, this part of this hand can't turn that way.
Yeah.
Okay? There's all these power point, pressure point things you can do, but they're detailed, and so they're hard to remember to do perfectly. But this is the same exact thing. Now, I want you to hold it really strong. Hold it really tight. Now, if I try to go this, hold it down, like push down. If I try to go this way, you see, this is under. He could resist, and it would be much harder. I might be able to still get him, but this way is just simple. And he just can't hold on.
Because it opens up the fingers.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to show you just another arm release like that. Now, if he continued to aggress, then I have to look at the
secondary.
Yeah, the targets. So I want you to grab the arm again. Another one you can do is step in, and then I want to just touch my elbow to his. It's very important to step in. You got to get in front. Okay, so we'll show that again. So I'm going to step in, and I want to touch elbow. Now here, I'd have to turn around. I've got the stomp there. I could go to the kidneys in the back. If he releases my hand, I could go here, or I can still go here. Turns his face here. I can go to the front, grab one. That's going to take him down.
Yeah.
He's not going to be your friend after that.
No,
And he
no.
won't
So this
attack
was
you
an
after
aggressive,
that.
this is a more aggressive attack.
Right.
Okay, so the important things, get loose, get free. And you can use any kind of, a lot of times, like for children, for example. Children are going to be smaller. So in a child situation, stay here with me for just a second. And there's a lot of this talk about, we had the attempted abduction, or the abduction actually in Cayo. And there's a lot of Facebook chatter about more attempted, okay? Haven't seen much on the news about it, but you know, I think it's important to talk about children. Some advantage by being smaller, we say, how's that an advantage? But if I'm down here,
There
okay,
is.
and you are going to grab me, so you can grab me, then I can move around and get low, and it's going to be hard for him to.
Right.
Oh, and children just wiggle, 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 and get low, and it's a little bit harder, and just keep moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And
he
those
might
are
lose
that's a
his
simple
balance.
thing you can teach your kids.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
The last example.
you.
Thank
the last
you,
example
Daryl.
you showed us, you had some martial arts form, right? You went into a T stance. I know a little bit. My daughter does.
I think that's just my natural.
My daughter does some karate, so I recognized it. But my question was, you might have this perception that I will, do the circle. But what if it fails? What is my backup after I'm not in a position where I can hit the secondary target. I've already tried that. What if it doesn't work as I thought it would work in my mind, as I practiced mentally so many times?
Okay, but there's no 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm going to say, because that's what I showed at the end. He could have been in any position. There's never going to not be a secondary target. Remember, there's the targets from upstairs to downstairs, and even one in the back. Even in the back, you can reach through the legs if the legs are open and grab the groin. The sides of the head are available from lots of angles. So it's knowing your targets and not 1, 2, 3 in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
This is going to work because
Yes, it
you
does.
can't
It
hold
does.
on. Okay. So once this works, you're looking for the other targets, and you just have to be conscious that these are my targets, and so you don't 1, 2, 3 it. You're going to practice 1, 2, 3 in your mind, maybe, but knowing these are my targets. So he could have been much taller, he could have been shorter than me, and so you're going to have different heights, different physical. Some people don't like to kick. Their balance isn't that good, so they use all of their upper body, but you're still using your lower body for that that force.
That force,
Okay, because the lower body is a lot, particularly with women, the lower body is much stronger than the upper body.
A lot of what you showed us was A lot of what you showed us was standing up. What if for example, you missed his whatever, and you fall on the ground?
Would you like me to show some ground defense?
If Mr. Miguel would
Maybe we have
allow.
time just for one.
Okay, it'll be very quick. I just want to show one of the
He's
best
gonna hit
things.
me after this.
He doesn't have to do anything but walk around me. Okay, so if I fall down, one of the better things to do is to immediately, however you fall, get on a hip.
Okay.
And I want to keep a foot here. I always want to keep a foot between myself and the attacker. So I want you to so I could go to the head, I could go to the groin. So and I can still go to the knees. So if he walks over there, I'm just going to rotate. And if he walks here, I'm just going to rotate.
That's awesome.
Keep a foot between me and my attacker. Okay? So you just want to keep rotating. You just want to keep rotating.
Yeah.
Okay? And so that will be one of the better ways, because a lot of people aren't going to come in when they have that foot right there.
Yeah.
They know they're going to get hurt.
And a good position for on the ground is the knee, because you could just dislocate it.
Yes.
It's only 20 pounds of pressure to break a knee.
Yes.
I read that somewhere.
Yeah. Kids could do it.
Well, we know that there's so much more that you could teach us, Renee. For those of you who are definitely intrigued, I know I am, tell us where we can find your classes.
Okay, well, this is the perfect time, because November I generally give my free classes.
Okay.
And that's like the only time of the year I give classes. I do it as a warm-up to the 16 days against gender-based violence, which starts the middle of November, the end of November. And so next week, Thursday, in Belmopan, I will be giving 2 sessions, so people could choose from either one. There will be one starting at 4:30. There will be another session starting at 5:30 and ending at 8.
We're in Belmopan.
It will be at the University of Belize. Right at the entrance, there's a gazebo.
Nice, yes.
Right at the entrance, that's where we'll be having it. So it is my service to the University of Belize to do these every year. It is open to the public.
Okay.
Girls age 10 or so are up. If you have an 8 or 9-year-old and you want to contact me personally, we can talk about having that child there. Belize City will be Saturday, next week Saturday, the 4th, and it will be at the education campus, 9 o'clock to 12. Same
That's
deal
Westland
with
Deaver.
people. It's Westland Deaver, yeah. And when you come on campus, you can just if you're not a student, you can let the security know you're there, and they'll point you in the right direction.
All right. And where can people find you for your other classes? On Facebook
Well,
or your website?
Yeah, Facebook. And in fact, for these, I would really want people to sign up ahead of time. And so I believe I had sent the flyers. Maybe they can be posted on the page.
Definitely.
That has my email address to send me the information. Most of the time I go to people. So somebody asks me for a class.
Okay.
I have a full-time job, and
Yeah.
so I pretty much don't try to go out there and round up people. I generally go. So like this summer, I did a group with some girls in St. Bite. A running club down there invited me to come down. I worked at a camp with the Peace Corps called GLOW, Girls Leading Our World. I had 62 girls in that camp that I taught. And then I do a lot of private groups. There are some groups that call me every year. There's a group called Corozal Women's Forum. Every year they call me. I work with the women's department. They tend to give free classes. And I've worked with lots of groups and a lot of corporate. I've worked with the UN and done training for their employees. BEL and DFC and some other organizations.
So this is a reputable class. You're definitely not.
I've been
gonna be
teaching for
big.
15 years, and I've taught probably going on about 3,000 people now in the country.
Wow.
So if you have an idea, you have a group, and you want me to come, all you have to do is contact me, and the information is on the page, but you can email me at rwentz@ub.edu.bz, and we can talk about your situation and how we can make something work.
Well, Renee, thank you so much for being here. We have
welcome.
learned so much. It's
Yes.
been entertaining
I like
as
the last
well, but so
Awesome.
empowering as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it's to have our wrap up.